you chase the number, but you're not chasing the result, right? It's gross revenue feeds your ego, right? Net profit feeds your family. Well, it's the same thing with someone telling you, if I could get you in front of 500,000 people a week, would you do it? Yes, it's called a fucking billboard. It's not worth it.
Exactly. So, you have to have a means to track this, right? Now we're kind of getting into advertising, marketing, and I do see people fuck this up all the time for the exact reason that he was talking about. So if I have, or you or anybody has, I'll make it easy, a 10% margin, net. That's what your profit is. And on $1,000 product sold, how much do you make?
Yeah, that's not much. Yeah.
Well, how much? I mean,
$100. Yeah.
Just $100, right? Okay. So if I'm to buy ad space from you, and it's going to cost me $1,000, how much do I need to make in revenue, in sales, to cover that $1,000?
Yep.
10,000.
Yep.
Right? Not the fucking 1,000, and that's what salespeople throw back on you. It's like, oh, you'll make back that $1,000 in no time. It's like, no, fucker, you realize that's 10,000, or if it's a 5.
This one comes from J.L. Holdsworth. Discuss the branding and power of social media today compared to the branding that was, 15 years ago.
I'll let you go first because you're more brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna.
I need to go 20 years ago. You need to go back.
So I'll let you go 20 years ago. I'll go 15 because I can't speak of 20 years ago in the branding world. I would say that your brand is your business, right? So it's so important that people know who you are, right? So like I look at business in systems, right? And I have 5 systems, right? And system 2 is sales. System 1 is marketing. And the first part of and they're different, right? The process in which we acquire the client is the sales process, right? But they can't even get into that box, right? If they don't know about you. So your brand is going to be driven off of marketing and how you're pushing it to them. I break that up in a brick and mortar facility. I break that up into organic marketing and paid marketing. And then I chop those things into other boxes. The first box on the organic marketing is going to be online, right? Which is like your Facebook, your YouTube, your video, all the shit that you could do for free. And then I break that down and I switch to the other side is going to be offline. So like in my building, when someone sees me online and they come to me in the building, is there synergy between those marketing components? If there's not, right, then I'm telling them something that I'm not able to provide in person. So I want both of those marketing components to be synergistic, right? And then anything that's paid, right, I want to make sure that I'm going to a specific target prospect. Right? So in the sales process, you have prospects, leads, and then the client conversion, right? In the prospecting world, we look at like the 3-ring prospect. That is geographical location for brick and mortar. You might be able to train somebody, like people might fly all across the world to come to Elite to spend a day with you, 100%, because you're at that level of specialty. But it's not feasible to run a business model off of that, right? Because that person can only do that for a certain period of time, and there's only so many people that are willing to do that. So in your backyard, first of all, own your backyard, right? And because if you own your backyard, word of mouth is going to spread. So the first area of that ring is going to be geographical, interest. The second ring is going to be the demographic, right? Do they have the money? Are they playing the sport? Do they want training? And then the last part is like the bullseye is going to be the psychographic. It's like, what are they thinking? Are they comparing you between other competitors? Are they the type of person you want in your building from a cultural standpoint? Once you figure those things out, and I'm going to go back to answer JL's question now. Once you figure those things out, then you build your strategy on the marketing. If you build your strategy on the marketing before that, you're just throwing shit on the wall and seeing what sticks. So the majority of my marketing is there's a branding aspect of it, which is all organic and free. And then people will just kind of come to me as they see fit. The brick and mortar, it's all targeted. I want this message in front of this person, and I'm gonna make sure that I send it to them. People found out about this post because Dave and Elite and myself posted it out organically on our stuff. And then I targeted it by sending that message and saying, ask questions on this post. I told them what to do. People want to be told what to do. You do the same thing in your marketing. That's how you start to build a brand. The way you have something sustainable, right, is making sure that the number one referral generation piece in your business is driven off of word of mouth. If it's not, your product's not good enough, stop fucking marketing, you're screwing up our industry, get better at coaching. But if your number one referral source is word of mouth, because people says, dude, you gotta go to this place, you gotta go to Spot Athletics in Dublin, they just opened up there, Granville was too far away, it's in your backyard, get your ass there now, then you need to spend a lot of time and energy marketing because you actually have a good product. If you don't, I don't think you deserve the right to start marketing because you're just unfortunately making my job harder, because once someone's upset with your bad training and they come to us, now they already have this preconceived notion of trainers are bad or people screw people up. So I think branding is extremely important. It's a long-winded answer to the fact that you got to start out with who you want to service, then build everything around that. Because if not, everybody's going to want to do whatever is the next trend. Mm-hmm. My brand is very consistent. It doesn't change. It hasn't changed. I'm not going to change. And to the people that are really close to me that don't like that, that's probably not going to go well. But at the end of the day, I want to stay true to what my brand is and the people that are going to work with me. Because that means that I'm going to have a sustainable business, not something that's just going to go at the wind of trends.
Elite FTS started on, well, it didn't really start online, but it started online, but it started to build traction online. And I made a lot of branding mistakes from the very beginning, from the name of the company to, you know, just over and over and over. So I'm going to kind of bypass all that and say, you know, anybody who's asking this that wants to develop a brand, you know, they're not going to even come out with the word brand unless they're trying to think of that they want to start a company or they already have an existing company. So if they already have an existing company and it's not doing anything, I mean, it's just doing zero revenue, they're
just
losing
existing,
money.
yeah.
Then maybe they want to rebrand, just trash the brand, get rid of it, start over. So the brand's going to begin with whatever your name is.
Okay.
You know, so the brand name has to represent what you do. You know, it's one of the mistakes that I did. You know, Elite FTS is a terrible fucking name. you got to say Frank, Tom, Sam. You got to, but it ended up being an abbreviation from Elite Fitness Systems that the readers of the site abbreviated and thus created the name. So the naming has to be indicative of what the company does in some way or another. And then the positioning statement that's going to go with that, that's going to be a long-term positioning statement, needs to pretty much stay unchanged. Because in the mind, you have to tie people, this is what they do. So, you know, work on what the story is, and the story's not going to change, but the story has added chapters the longer you stay in business. But chapter one's still chapter one. The preface is what we're talking about here. When you're talking about branding, you're talking about the preface, right? Not a forward. Don't let somebody else fucking write your brand. It's the, you know, the preface is what your brand is. So you determine what the brand is, and then you start looking at the brand identity. Now, from that start position, can you get the URL? You know, that matters today. You know, 20 years ago, you could pretty much pick up any URL. Right now, you can't get shit. If it's four or five letters, you're not getting it. It's taken. You might be able to get it if you buy it, which is another option. But, you know, a lot of the good domain names now, you're not just going to go to, you know, GoDaddy.com and register it and get it for $5. You know, if you have a good brand name and you find that it's open, you might end up paying between 20 and 200,000. I mean, you need to shop it out because you might want to step back and say, maybe this isn't the name I want to go with. Because if you can't get the URL, you know, that's for the name or something very fucking close to it that's going to be able to make it work, then you're branding for somebody else, especially if they have that URL. So, and then you need to trademark it. You have to protect it. You know, if you don't protect it, you know, you have no idea how fucked you can be on that. Just talk to people that have been caught up in litigation about this. We're not talking $10,000 fucked. We're talking fucked.
Well, I can tell just from hearing your sentiment here.
We're talking no Vaseline.
It can run you out of business very, very fast because you didn't do your due diligence and have the trademark. And that needs, and it's going to cost because you're going to have to hire, you can use, online legal sites and they can do a fair job, but they don't do a very extensive job of doing the background research to be able to know, is this trademarked, at a local level, or, is it trademarked, common law trademark, so not trademarked, but has been in use for so long.
Okay.
I can go on and on about this, but your name matters, right? It matters from a marketing perspective, for one. And it matters because if you start developing a good business and you're building traction and you're being in part of that conversation that he's talking about for referrals and so forth, and then you have to change it and rebrand it, that you're fucked again because it's going to cost a shit ton of money to rebrand. So imagine if Elite FTS had to rebrand. How many racks have we sold with the name on it?
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
T-shirt. I mean, we have permanent branded fixtures in weight rooms across the world. All right, so those are things that need to be thought about, need to be protected. I agree with everything that he said. There's not a vast difference between brick and mortar and online. I actually think that the longer online commerce has been around, the more it's beginning to resemble what old brick and mortar was. Because when I first started, it was a mail order company. So when I was looking at advertising means, magazine ads and so forth, great salespeople, right? And how do you know what the fuck the return is? They're telling you how many eyes it's going to have. And then once we went online, all of a sudden I could say, I can track this shit. Because I added a "How did you hear about us" button at the checkout. So if I'm spending $10,000 a year on a certain magazine ad, but I'm showing that their sales are, $50, nothing they tell me is going to be able to validate that this is a worthy investment.
And that is, I almost want to cut him off because it's like, you guys and this is not directed at anybody, but it's like, I see this every single day. You're chasing, and I got into that because you want that, right? That feeds your ego. You chase the number, but you're not chasing the result, right? It's gross revenue feeds your ego, right? Net profit feeds your family. Well, it's the same thing with someone telling you, if I could get you in front of 500,000 people a week, would you do it? Yes, it's called a fucking billboard. It's not worth it.
Exactly. So, you have to have a means to track this. Right now, we're kind of getting into advertising, marketing, but I do see people fuck this up all the time for the exact reason that he was talking about. So if I have, or you or anybody has, I'll make it easy, a 10% margin net. That's what your profit is. And on $1,000 product sold, how much do you make?
Yeah, that's not much.
Well, how much? I mean,
$100. Yeah,
just $100, right? Okay. So if I'm to buy ad space from you, and it's going to cost me $1,000, how much do I need to make in revenue, in sales, to cover that $1,000?
Yep.
10,000. Right? Not the fucking 1,000, and that's what salespeople throw back on you. It's like, oh, you'll make back that $1,000 in no time. It's like, no, fucker, you realize that's 10,000, or if it's a 5% net, it's 20,000 that you need to make back. So the money that you spend is much different than the money that comes in. $5,000 coming in is $5,000 coming in. But once that gets filtered through, what actually comes out the bottom, that $5,000 may only be $100 or $50. All right. Now, when you're paying for that ad space, it doesn't pay out the top. It comes out the bottom because that profit is what goes up, for the expenses.
And the people that are selling you ad space or branding information, they're protecting their interest. They're not protecting your interest, which is the brand. So as they're telling Dave or anybody, if they're telling them, hey, you're going to sell $5,000 in a week because we're going to do this, and all of a sudden you're going to get your return. If your profit's only 10%, right? It's not $5,000 in the return. So then what ends up happening is now you have a burn rate of that advertising. If you had this budget and you don't get that back, there's a burn rate of that until at some point where hopefully that line starts to dip, right? And then it jays up. We want that to happen. So then where do you spend your money? If we know that's going to happen, then you could over-index here. But if you don't, then all of a sudden, I've seen people do that and it runs them out of business. And that's the thing that concerns me, is because as you young coaches or young businessmen start running your companies, you're not treating your business as what you're a specialty in. So flipping subjects a little bit, I know we're going down this, but hopefully we're answering some good questions. I have a very simple principle in my business. If I train the fastest athletes in the world, and speed kills, and speed is king, and I'm the guy that runs fucking, people and make them faster, and I'm that guy, how can I run a process in my business that is slow as dog shit? If it slows me down, it should be against my core value. So I've eliminated the best marketing services. I've eliminated the best CRMs because they're so freaking complicated that I can't even operate, because I'm spending so much time doing that. And that is an opportunity cost that I lose. So if you are a strength coach, right, that's running a business training athlete, what is the ROI of spending time doing BOSU bullshit? Why are you doing that in your business? If you can't quantify it, if you don't know that number or that measurement, I don't know if it is worth putting that into your business.
To pivot off what he said, what is your ROI on social media? Okay, so if you have a website, you should be able to figure out clicks. You know what your traffic is. You should be able to figure out where that traffic's coming from. Mm-hmm. Now, if it's an e-commerce site, you're going to know the revenue per click. So the question was geared towards social media. All right, well, there's an opportunity cost with that. Now, there is also a paid cost, the advertising cost, which is pretty easy to track, but don't always trust the social media site analytics. Yep. Make sure you have your own analytics to compare it with. Mm-hmm. You'd be surprised at the difference between the two. And then don't get lost in the fucking hype, right? Instagram just now has the ability to be able to put a clickable URL within a story.
Yes.
It still doesn't have it within the post, only within the actual bio. So people are telling me, you need more Instagram. It's the greatest thing in the world, best engagement, fucking, you gotta load it up there. What's the fucking return? I don't have a way to figure out a return. Mm-hmm. And all the ways and all the metrics I've seen from the return, I'm not sold on those. Because people will say, well, yes, you can track that. And there are ways to track the clicks coming back, but those metrics are sloppy metrics for me.
They're sloppy. They're sloppy for you because you're in an e-commerce situation that you've tracked a lot of other data points. Yeah. Just like your experience in training tracks a lot of other data points on what is the return of banded work versus somebody saying that shit doesn't work. Yeah. It doesn't work because you haven't built up the foundation of the other analytics. So it's the same thing on the business side. Instagram isn't giving you what you need because it's false numbers, because they want to make sure that those numbers are a little bit greater than what they are. And the other thing is at some point you have to understand what's your acquisition cost. And we're talking about opportunity cost. If you're building a brand, right? If you spend all your time building a brand and you don't have the product, focus your time on the product. If you have a great product and you need to start building the brand, make sure you've built the infrastructure to your business, right? So in the situation of marketing and sales, what I would really want to make sure that you're doing, if you're leveraging social media to build your brand, is that you're not taking away from something that is already giving you a good return.
Yes.
So if Google AdWords is working, where a lot of people say it's not, 60% of my brick and mortar clients come from a Google AdWords search. And everyone says Google is dead. I don't know, they're a pretty fucking big company. They do a great job for me.
It's 60%, regardless of them being dead or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a bigger pie than my Instagram account. And I have way more followers than I do freaking Google people searching me. But the problem is that the people that are searching me they've already made that decision. They're the bullseye of my client. They're going right there. It's not just noise. So there's a lot of ways that you could drive that. I still think it starts with having a great product, and I think it starts with making sure that you know your story. Most people do not know how to tell their story of a great product that they have.
Yes. And don't get me wrong with the social media. I'm not telling people don't engage, don't do that. You know, if you're a business owner and you have, you know, I don't know how many hats. Some business owners are wearing 100 hats. Some are wearing 3 hats. You know, I don't know what it is, you know, how many they are. But
I always wear a hat.
yeah, don't
too.
spend all your
I'm bald.
time on something that's not going to give you a return.
Yes.
You know, or you don't know it's going to be a return. You don't have to be the early adapter. You know, let it fucking filter for a little bit. Let us see how it works. If a new exercise or a new machine came out that was supposed to increase vertical power better than anything in the world, there's going to be early adapters, right? And they're going to be out there. When I mentor people, I try to tell them, don't be the early adapter. Create early adapter products, but don't be the early adapter. Sit back, wait to see what happens. Let other people fucking get hurt using it. Learn from their mistakes, learn from their successes. When it looks like it's a home run, fucking bring it in. You know, then you already know how to use it. And then not only that, you know how to expand on it. from there.
Why are you, as a business owner, in the training standpoint, if you're going to be an early adapter or a pioneer, pioneers never make money. Let's establish that. And it's crazy. And I'm saying this because out of all the respect in the world, you pioneered a field. Like pioneered a field. The industry didn't exist. And again, I might be wrong, right? Because of when I came into it, but this is one of the companies that pioneered the field. And you've been able to make good business adjustments along the way. You're not the same company that you were in 98 or 2002.
Yeah, pivot.
So, and that ability to be pliable and see the other things was very valuable to the success of the company. But when you're a pioneer, you don't make any money. The early adapters, you spend most of your time actually fine-tuning somebody else's business or product. So as you adapt to somebody else's, like if you jump on their product, you're actually being a test dummy for them. So you're paying them, and you're losing out in 2 ways. You're actually paying, so there's a cash investment, and then there's your time that you focused your energy on this one avenue when you could have been doing what you already knew worked. And then once you build your bucket, like I build businesses from the bottom up, meaning that if our nut is, let's say, $30,000 a month, right? I need to figure out a way to build an EFT or some sort of sustainable income, to $30,000 before I want to venture into anything else. I don't venture into other opportunities until I fill the bucket up. And I want to fill it up from the bottom. So this way my gap is not that high. And that just basically manages my risk. I'm a very risky individual, so I am managing that by mitigating the environments in which I choose, because in my personality, I like to take risk. And I don't want to do that, just like I wouldn't want to take risks with my athletes. We've taken risks with our bodies to figure shit out. To social media trend, let's go to the negatives real quick. The Instagram and the YouTube and the viral videos that everyone jokes about, that used to be your friends making fun of you in the gym, and that's how the stuff got filtered out. Now because you freaking dick around on your phone and you post it out to the world and you want to be cutting edge, right? You all of a sudden look like a jackass. So good, be cutting edge. Now you're just gonna, instead of exploding your brand, it's gonna implode because you've allowed it to happen. So I think that, most of these dumb exercises used to be filtered by good training partners and good people in the building that used to basically say, go ahead and do that. We've all done dumb shit. And then we realize, all right, that's not a good idea. And then John over there smacks you and it's like, yeah, that's not a good idea, right? And then all of a sudden you realize, don't do that again. And now there's no filtering mechanism.
And there's no filter. And the other thing too is when you're dealing with 1 minute, you're losing a lot of context.
Of course.
So you may get one exercise from one club done one certain way that happens to be filmed by an athlete in the club that gets posted and then just gets fucking smashed, right? So now the club's taking this bang, right? And going back to the branding, you need to track these bangs.
Yes.
All right. So you're searching to see what other people are saying about you. I'm not telling you to sit there and go out there and fight everybody, and post in defense, and not everything needs to be defended. The news cycle of these things are super fast. So just most of the time, just let it go, but understand, wow, that really was not in proper context. We're not going to make that mistake again. So it's better to figure out how not to make that mistake again than to spend 4 hours debating it, you know, on some fucking thread, and then thinking about it the whole night, and then waking up the next morning like, God damn it, I should have said this. And then you go and post that, you know. That's where people fuck up, and that's the opportunity cost lost, because how much do you make per hour? Well, you just sucked 16 hours. Was it really worth that? You know, sometimes it is. I mean, if it's a
You get sucked in a
big
black hole. Trust me, I'm one of the worst at it, right? But at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, you know, like, what is the value of that? We started this with the ROI. Like, what is the ROI of almost everything you're doing? If you evaluate those things and you can check that box and you go, okay, I know that this is worth it to me. It's very different if you're doing it for fun, right? If you're doing it as an escapism and you want to just kind of get away, that's one thing. And that's where the majority of the population is. Matter of fact, that might be why some of the people are coming to you, because you're saying something funny online. If you're doing it because of a education, right? So you're looking and you're searching for education. Well, maybe some of your clients are searching for education. So that's the kind of content that you're giving as well, right? And maybe the other one is money. Maybe you're trying to do it for those reasons, right? So, I mean,
So here's the takeaway of all that. From
Yeah, let's wrap it in. Yeah, let's bring it in.
Why are you doing it?
Yes.
Determine that. Determine why you're doing it. And then once you determine that, stick to that. All right. If you're doing it for fun, fucking have fun.
Yep.
All right. And then don't worry about if it's going to monetize for business. If you're doing it for business, do it for business. And worry about if it's monetizing for business. Don't do it for fucking 8 or 9 different reasons.
Okay.
You know, there's too many networks, there's too many strings that you need to try to hit if you're online, that you can't hit them all. And you certainly can't put all your time into one.